It's a chapter in my book, and these are two words that you directly have been trained on. Situational awareness.
100%.
If people are hearing this right now, I mean, everybody's got smartphones nowadays. Go ahead and Google it, whatever you got to do. Situational awareness applies to so much in life.
That it does.
I use it in business all the time, right?
I do too.
But it totally applies to life. Now, obviously, you use it in military. It was a standard protocol in our training. We had to literally keep our SA up. I'm air quoting for people in the video world, right? Dude, our heads were always on a swivel.
Kick back, pour yourself a nice dram of whiskey, and let's settle you in for some low-key conversations on high-performance living. This is Wise Words and Whiskey.
For those of you hanging out with us today, I want you to meet an unbelievable man. His name is Scott Mulvaney. And I got to tell you, Scott left this corporate world, this crazy corporate world, to go purposely become a hotshot firefighter. Now, I have a lot of respect for that because it was what I wanted to do as a kid, but there's a reason why he did those things. And now, yeah, exactly right there. There we go.
There's that thin purple line right there. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? That takes a very specific type of mindset to do that kind of transition. So we'll delve into that as well. But I really want everybody that's listening, that's hanging out with us, getting ready to sit back and enjoy their own dram of whatever they prefer, to know a little bit about the fact that you now, man, you are a marketing entrepreneur, you are a podcaster, you are a best-selling author. And I got to tell you, I'm going to jump out of an airplane with your book, by the way, just so you know that.
Dude, I'm so pumped on that because I was just trying to convince a buddy over the weekend to go skydiving with me because he's afraid. And I'm like, bro, you have a better chance of getting hit by a car. Let's just go.
You do.
Let's just go.
You do.
Let's do this. So,
well, I want you to know I've already got it set up with some friends in San Diego when I go out there that I'm going to literally jump with your book in my hand, and I'm going to carve around the sky on my head to get some insane shots, make sure that you get tagged in that whole 9 yards. So I'm going to have fun with your book. Highly recommend you. So you want to be a hot shots, the book, but we'll talk about more of that later. And if you want, LiveTheFuel.com truly is a place where you can explore Scott. He's an amazing human being. He channels all of his love for health and his adrenaline lifestyle and sports into everything he does. I think you run a nonprofit too, right? That's another part of your.
Yeah, I was actually in contact with the local county here. I'm in the process of donating some adrenaline junkie hardware. We could talk about that too. But yeah, Fuel Foundations. Everything started with the Fuel, then launched Fuel Foundations, the charity, to benefit from the book sales, then launched Fuel Up Marketing just to spin off the whole marketing thing. So everything's around fuel and fire. So
fuel and fire. You got something with fuel and fire, and I love it. There's a reason why, and I think that's what we're definitely going to talk about for sure. Because what I really dig about you, Scott, and I hope everybody's paying attention to this, is it's not the things you do, it's the way you approach your life. This unwavering standard that you herald. And I know you're all about duty, you're all about respect and integrity. Those are like your cornerstones of living a really, I call it a high performance life. You're like a true firefighter all around and a good man. So that, to me, it was the moment I met you, I knew it. That's why we stayed connected, even despite the gap between our time, is because of how you were made, the kind of cloth you're cut from. But right now, before we kind of jump into, I want to make sure that we go ahead and pour ourselves up a little bit of glass of this.
Please do.
Balvenie Doublewood,
ladies and gentlemen,
12, right?
I mean, Wylie was kind enough to send me this very sexy and gorgeous bottle of the Balvenie Doublewood 12, which, as he and I have connected on, I'm already a Scotch guy, and I had just finished this literally 3 days ago. So
love it.
It's a perfect resupply timing.
Absolutely. So yeah, exactly. And it's perfect timing indeed. And what we're going to do too is we're going to enjoy it with a rock or a cube or whatever. The idea here is there are different ways to drink it. This way is really such an experience. I think you can agree with that, where
yes,
the coolness of the ice and the water that melts into the liquid really opens up the notes in a way that gives you a whole new world of nosing the whiskey, tasting the whiskey. It really brings about a whole different subjective kind of like adventure. That's kind of how I describe my whiskey experiences. What are you thinking?
Putting that right in the backdrop there. So I agree. So it's interesting because I've really started geeking out about scotches like 2 years ago. And because I quit beer 5 years ago. And I realized, and I just turned 45 this past week, so I'm young, I guess, in some circles.
You are.
My friends are like, there you go. My friends are like,
yeah,
you're drinking like an old dude. And I said, no, I'm not. I'm drinking like a man with experience. And so like, everybody keeps telling me to do the whole hair club for like, you have darker hair than I do. And the wife makes a joke too, like, you should do some hair club for men because she's 5 years younger than me. And I said, years ago, right after fire, it all just kicked in. Like that lifestyle just beats the snot out of you. So I was like, I'm going to embrace, I called them my wisps of wisdom. So
well, perfect.
It kind of aligns with today's show, right? It's like,
yeah, absolutely.
Wise words, wisdom. I'm like, dude, I earned this salt and pepper. I'm going to rock this salt and pepper.
Let's do it.
A glass of Balvenie. So,
well, as we say in Gaelic, Sláinte, which means to good health.
I agree.
Cheers.
Sláinte.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh.
Yep. Yeah.
I got to tell you, the flavor of that is unbelievable. You can't.
That Doublewood, man.
Oh, can't beat it.
I literally have a log splitter. I bought a log splitter this year, by the way.
Nice. Good for you.
I had people over for the party this weekend. They were like, you have these, like the nicest looking wood stacks that I've ever seen. Like I'm using, as you hinted about my lifestyle, so people are going to listen to this. Sorry, real quick. I researched like how to make firewood look good. So I found a German or Scandinavian or some kind of technique from Northern Europe called the Holzhausen technique. And it's basically translated as round stacking. So I have these giant round stacks that are 8 feet across and at least 5 feet high. And then I even found a company that there's only one company that makes special round tarps with venting and everything to help with the aging and the curing of the wood. It's a whole thing. I now own, I just ordered more of them. I think I'm up to 5 round stack tarps. I'm building the 3rd stack right now. So everybody who was parked across the whole property today or on Saturday for the party, my closest friends wanted to park next to the round stacks. They were doing selfies next to the round stacks. I was like, are you going to come up to the grilled meats or are you going to keep doing selfies with the round stack? I'm like, they're like, dude, no one does this. Like, I've never seen it before.
I get it, Scott. And honestly, again, not surprised. Again, I don't even know where to go other than to say that this makes total sense, which is why I really want to actually, you know what I'm going to do? I want to unpack how the hell you're able to truly be so fired up and fueled up on a daily basis and constantly do these projects, run your businesses, live your life from a place of athletics. You actually look still young despite the salt and pepper on your face. There's a reason why you have this fire that never dies in you, no matter what you have on your plate, which again, think about this. And I want everybody that's hanging out with us to listen and realize, like most people that have this much on their plate, it kills them. It crushes them. It pushes them down the wrong path. You're going in a completely different direction. And you're right. Drinking whiskey, you earned the salt and pepper. That's aging and sophistication, but there's a reason why you still have youth to you. There's still a reason why you're living your life where you're able to channel so much fuel into everything you do. And I knew it when I met you that day, and I still feel it the same to this day. That's not different. So I want to unpack what the heck you're actually doing, because there's a high performance reason underneath that, the way you live your life, that attributes to your ability to constantly tap into that fuel source. To me, that is important for us to unpack together today. That's what I want to talk about.
I like where you're going with that because you got me literally as I'm talking to you. I'm flashing back to when I was a kid and I didn't really connect on a lot of sports like you're supposed to be, like playing football or basketball or baseball. And I tried baseball. I tried basketball. And I was a low income farm kid family. And then I was very high energy. So my family's like, we got to do something with this kid. And I found martial arts. So
there you go.
That was kind of part of my initial foundation. And it's funny because in the past 2 years, I've been thinking heavily, like, do I need to find a new art to help ground myself? Because I am so fired up all the time. But we can get into that. But let's go back to that route that you're discussing here. And I said, all right, clearly I like to do things differently than everybody else. I've never taken the easy street. And I wasn't always an entrepreneur, right? Like I was a corporate monkey for years. And by the way, no negative. People who love corporate life and they're building an amazing career, like you're not a corporate monkey. I'm just referring to my career that I was doing. I felt like a corporate monkey. Yes. Not all corporate employees are corporate monkeys. So that's done.
Right.
So and years later now, honestly, when I created Live the Fuel, after wildland firefighting, and I connected on this quote that I lived by from Ernest Hemingway. Right? I think he's one of the classic old writers out there. He's left left behind a lot of amazing pieces of work in this world. And one of the quotes was, "Live life to the fullest." When I learned that quote, and I don't even know how long ago it is now, it never left me. When I got struggles, I started getting stressed. I'm like, okay, we got to figure this out, because eventually, Scott, you need to find a way to live life to the fullest. Now, granted, years later, I realized that we could be living life to the fullest right here, right now, in the moment. It's not a matter of the future. It's like right here, right now, right? We'll quickly take a sip with you here. So,
cheers. Yeah, absolutely.
So, because this is so good.
I know it's how this works. That's why it's a house whiskey for me, and I'm glad you're enjoying it. So, good stuff.
And I realized, and then I was like, oh, how do I create my own slogan? Because my sales and marketing brain from the corporate world. So after the years of firefighting, and obviously that changed my life. That's why I wrote a book about it, and I got fire in my logo. And I realized, well, God, if I had to create a slogan, what would embody that? And obviously, Live the Fuel, the history of the podcast, I think for the past 5+ years, has been topics around health, business, and lifestyle. And that's how I'll quickly answer your point there is I started with health. I love my family, but nobody looks like me. Everybody's like, you must have great genetics. I said, no, I don't. I committed to a lifestyle choice. That's it. I continue to live the way I was when I was growing up. I'm not eating manufactured cereals and processed foods and all this trash, right? People are like, oh, dude, you built a CrossFit gym in your new pole barn, so you must work out every day of the week. And I'm like, no, I don't. I travel 3 to 4 days out of the week as a speaker and a sales consultant and a marketing professional. Like, I'm leaving tomorrow and I'll be gone for the next 3 days. I was like, I work out maybe twice a week. And people are like, oh, well, that's because you also mountain bike and everything else. I'm like, I was on my mountain bike once this week. It's like,
it is, I just want to stop you right there for a second. It is interesting what happens with people when they experience someone like you. And I see it all the time, even with the clients I work with and people around, even with family in the past, is when you're constantly in a state of living a life from a standard, an optimized standard where you care deeply daily to be the best version, to be optimal, to be high performance. They don't go, how can I do that too? They go, well, you're probably doing this. Well, it becomes this like weird resistance and almost like insecurity that comes out. And that's why I wanted to unpack that with you, because there are a lot of people that are living life to their fullest that are literally stress cases. You know what I mean? But there's a reason why you're not. There's something else under that too, though, that I really think
struggled.
Is huge.
Let's be real. Like,
sure,
you and I,
of course.
We have all struggled, right? We've all been in those points of, oh my God, how am I going to get through this tomorrow? How am I going to living paycheck to paycheck? I've been there. Okay. How to pay my rent? Been there in my life. And it's funny because I have a couple of friends that were at my house here on Saturday for a very belated housewarming party, because we've been in the house for a year and a half now, but we've been doing so much projects and building. Finally, I'm like, hey, it's my birthday weekend. I'm throwing a party, baby. Let's go. I want to actually use my Scotch bar, teach some friends how to drink good Scotch, like all that. I'm not running the grill, even though I am a meat master. I paid for catering. And I was like, oh my God, I'm holding a party on my little compound. I've got a man's own pole barn. So people are like rotating from the house to the pole barn. They didn't know where to hang out at. Like, I'm so thankful. Like, I have these things, and I've never had these things. I'm worried about framing out the pole barn now so I can get it insulated for the ski season, because I host ski tuning parties for years in my old house. And this pole barn is only 5 years old, and it's cold as hell in the winter. Like, that's what I worry about now. And people are like, oh, must be nice. I was like, no.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah.
I was like, dude, 2 years of wild and firefighting, even at you're ranked as the elite hotshot crew, right? Hotshots are like, there's only 100 crews in the nation that are hotshots. I was one of the rare elites. We got paid crap. I was like, guys, you didn't make money until you were actually assigned to a live fire assignment. Your base pay was crap. And you're doing one of the most dangerous jobs on the planet, right? It's like, no, we all struggled. We all struggle. Like, the struggles continues.
Yep. That's what I mean, Scott, is you struggled. We all have those growing pains. We all struggle. We all go through these processes, but there's a reason why. If it was simple as we all struggle and we all become successful, everybody would be. There's some magic sauce that individuals have that are able to take those experiences, sip them like a good whiskey, and let the warmth of it actually drive you into the right direction is what you've done for your life. That's why it's so, I want that to be the kind of words that come out where people can realize that, again, with my clients, it's the same thing. They've done it the other way around. It's all about like, how do I optimize my bank accounts first and then try to figure out how to then parlay that into my other areas of my life. You've done it the other way around. And I've
definitely done it the other way around. If you talk to my wife about finances, oh my God. So my wife came from father's a CFO, ran multiple companies. She's never had debt. So when we met, like I had debt. I had her influence, her family's education, the sharing of money knowledge was a game changer 8-9 years ago. Cause I grew up in a family without that. And I think this is an important quick lesson for the wisdom, right? Is like,
absolutely.
There is a language to money that is not shared,
100%.
Not properly shared. Like I always looked at people with wealth as evil. Like, oh, they're the devil. I mean, you look at these online influencers who are money experts. They talk about this type of stuff, right? So I'm using their words, but it's like I literally lived that. I was like, oh, you have fancy cars, so it must be nice. Well, no, my wife's family's company, like her family's business was commercial construction. They started in the early 1900s building churches and fire departments. But now her brother and her cousin are now the co-vice presidents of the family's construction company. And like 2 years ago, they built a 12-story glass commercial building right here in downtown Allentown, Pennsylvania. They had to go hire architects from Philadelphia because they've never taken on a job like that before, right? Like that's multi-million-dollar level stuff. Like,
got it.
So being on the inside of the family now, I'm like, like they literally worked for this. It just took years to get there. And that's where I'm going with this topic is I'm more capable of taking on more and more supposedly stressful things or scary things or taking on more risks, and I'm more risk adverse because there's a slogan I use on my show a lot, which is fitness related, right? It's putting in the reps.
Sure.
When you first start putting in the reps, it's going to hurt. You're going to be sore the next day. You might not be able to get up out of bed. If you sit down on the toilet, you might not be able to stand up. All right. It's that kind of
leg day right there. That is a good leg day right there. Yep.
But then it's like, wait a minute. Okay. Week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, you're building the habit, right? That mental game of the repetition, right? Now it's like, wait a minute. Now all of a sudden the tendons, the ligaments, the muscles, they're responding more, right? They're getting used to it. It's like, oh, okay, this is Scott's thing now, right? Okay, so I better figure this out. Like the human body's an amazing machine. The brain is the same way. The brain gets bored. If we don't test it, if we don't challenge it, it's where would you like to go with that? It just becomes lethargic.
Oh, I can go in many different directions because you're absolutely right. There was so much, it's funny. You talk about these online influencers. And it's hilarious. People
I like
don't realize
18-year-old long night. If I went back to when I was 18, I would smack myself.
I get it 100%. And here's the thing. And I want this to land because I'm going to circle back to what you said on that and come right back to this point because people go, well, look at that person's crushing it. It's like, yeah, it's easy to crush it when you're selling a $5 product to 100 million people. It's like they're not actually adding value into the world. They're not actually living their best lives. They're not optimal. They're just showing you what the ego, what the almost the surface level, like stroking of that aspect wants to see and experience. And then what we're doing is we're giving credence to that as success. When I'm coming back to the table with you, and we're talking about, look, success is not about how much money you can put in your bank account. Actually, making money is not as hard as you think it is if you know exactly how to talk to money, have a relationship with it, and create the systems for it. What's harder for people is to live a life from a place of peace, energy, freedom, and balance with standards, values, integrity, respect, stuff that duty, all of those things are harder, which is why people don't chase them. They go after the easy stuff, the stuff that feels good to the mind, and they don't work the mind enough, but they also don't know how to manage their emotions. No. So they'll let the other two kind of take over. And like you just said, and this is the last point that I'm going to punch at, is the fact that everybody out there nowadays is a mindset coach. But then why do we have so many fucked up people with all these jacked up mindsets? Why don't we have more optimal thinkers out there? And it's because go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. It's a selling point.
It's funny where you're going with this, right? Like literally as there's a local meat market that I love. I get my bacon hand sliced right off the slab. Right, I'm that guy. My wife's like, you have to take it to these little. I'm like, listen, I want I work hard. I want the good stuff. I don't want crap. Vacuum sealed in chemically riddled plastic, right? That's why we're drinking Balvenie right now.
Exactly. You want to talk about quality? There you go, my man.
Right? It's like, no. That's why I don't drink cheap beer anymore and get fat off of that, right? And have all the inflammation from liquid grains in my gut, destroying my gut biome and bacteria. That's right. I'm a biohacker. I'm a health nut.
No, but you're 100% correct on that, which is why I only drink good whiskey when I do it once a week. That's it.
Exactly. I have a nice scotch or a nice tequila now. And let's be real, ladies and gentlemen, it's an alcohol. It's still a toxin to the microbiology of your body, okay? That's a whole different conversation. But again, not even, I hate the term everything in moderation. It's not even moderation. Like you and I got together, like I've been working all day. I was out there wrenching on my mountain bike for the evening just to get ready to chat with you. I'm like, I'm going to come in, I'm going to pour a nice scotch, nice whiskey, and hang out and have a nice talk. That's the point. And we're just sipping on it. And I'll have
But what's great about it, Scott, is what we're doing together too, has nothing to do with more of the same that's being offered to people. It's you and I as men who live a life from a place of standard and high performance, want to share these cool insights as we talk and just organically go back and forth and let people realize. And part of my passion, what I'm doing this for too, is the fact that I have my skydiving buddy, my partner that I fly with, who I got him off a lot of beer. He's like now in love with good whiskeys, and he realizes, oh my God, I stopped drinking so much now that I'm drinking better quality spirits. And if you want to enjoy something like that, to me, I grew up, my dad's mother was from Glasgow, Scotland. So I grew up around scotches and whiskeys. So for me, it's like the finer things, and having an experience is okay. It's the same thing. Like my wife will say, if people want to do heroin, it's like, do it in the comforts of your own home and, know why you want to do it. A lot of people don't know why they want to do things like smoke weed, drink beer, drink alcohols, do heroin, do coke, whatever it might be, whatever the people's pleasure choices are or poisons. They do it based on coping with life, not on having a good experience. And you and I are sitting here tapped into a good experience with a good whiskey that is high right here, folks. These distilleries are high performance. These whiskeys are made with the utmost highest standards and highest quality materials. It's
right on the cork.
What's
1892, right on the cork of the Balvenie.
Absolutely.
Right? Like
absolutely.
That's years of putting in the reps.
So I parlay this into the conversation with you, Scott, is I want people to learn that you can enjoy really quality spirits despite being a toxin. And I won't even say moderation. I will say just have the experience when it feels like an enjoyment, not from a stressful day, coping with some pain, dealing with trauma or drama. When you can change just that perspective and mindset when it comes to what you utilize for yourself, it will start to ripple in your life in other places, which is why I value what you just said. And I'm talking to you about it. Is like, we can wrap together. Let's give people some wise words around whiskeys, around lifestyle. And going back to you, you're still able to, despite what you do, keep your energy as high as possible and create from that place. And people have a hard time doing that.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, again, obviously health is a big part of my foundation.
Absolutely.
Like when you when you treat your body like a temple that it should be, okay, not the fancy car you're driving. I think it's hilarious. People spend more time and money. Look, I'm about to make this joke. I had just got back from the butcher. I picked up my own catering for my own belated housewarming party because I don't care. And I went and picked it up because I like to say hi to the owner, right? I also picked up probably like 10 pounds of bacon because I buy like 10 pounds at a pop, and he had it all waiting for me, 1 pound packs ready to go. I have a whole process. Like my meat freezers are stocked. Anyway, this is not I'm definitely not a vegan. So again, you do
no problem.
But the point is that
I'm hungry now.
I pull in. Before I even left, because I take everything to the next level. My wife drives crazy. I had cones in front of the house garage doors because I didn't want people parking there. I want people to, without me being here to guide them, I wanted to make sure they knew to head to the lawn and park down by the pole barn until I got back. And because I knew there was going to be a couple people coming that, I'll just say, don't drive very well. And I wanted to let them park at the house because I knew they would just screw something up further down the property. I'll just leave it.
You said something. I want to stop it because you said something that hit really, I would say, almost the nail on the head. And you said, I don't cut corners.
No.
That's why I love organic conversations. And that's why in this, what we're doing here.
Great pause point. Yeah. Yeah.
You don't cut corners. Now, you don't cut corners with how you get your meat. You don't cut corners with how you park your car. You don't cut corners with how you talk to your wife. You don't cut corners with how you literally get on a show with me. You don't cut corners. I
put you on my calendar and sent you an invite to my own calendar with your own link to this because my wife says it. My wife says it's OCD, and I said, fine. If you want to put a label on it, put a label on it.
You know what?
I just care about quality.
I would call it out if it's OCD. I'm not afraid to do that. That's the nature of my work that I do with leaders. But I don't think it's OCD, Scott. I think it's the fact that you've embodied a standard of how you operate. Look, when I got the link, it's almost like I didn't take any offense to that. Again, at the end of the day, this is more of an organic conversation. Yeah. Hey, he wants to ensure no hiccups. To me, that is a high performance relationship. Mm-hmm. When you have people in dynamics together who give a shit about each other.
I did it just to make sure you knew that you were locked in on my calendar.
Absolutely.
I knew you didn't need the link and you didn't need the time slot reminder, but that was just, hey, I want to make sure Wylie knew that Scott's on it, right?
And here's a wise thought for people is I didn't take offense to that as a lot of men would, a lot of people would. It's like there is a way in which we can experience these types of relationships where you don't cut corners. You care about things being optimal, which is why this is kind of like, I'm enjoying the hell out of this. It's going off without a hitch. Everything's smooth. And that's because of that standard. And I want everybody to just sit back, take another sip themselves and realize, like, where in your life are you not holding the highest standards for yourself and the relationships you have around you? Because if your relationships are suffering, if you're cutting corners, if you're not willing to sacrifice a little extra effort to get your bacon sliced off the damn pig versus getting in this chemically ridden plastic, you don't have to do it like Scott, but those nuances do matter. They do have an effect. And if you're doing it over here, you're going to do it everywhere else in your life. So I think that's fantastic.
So let's add to that because everything is just, this is, again, your audience hopefully will go off of this theme. I bought this property, right? We're on the side of a mountain. I've never had a shared driveway entrance. And I've heard all the horror stories, right? Because you got to share, but it's on the side of a mountain. Like, I can't help it. When I looked at this property a year ago, I went to my wife and I was like, are you serious? You want me to share a driveway with somebody? And look at this driveway. You could tell that it had not been resurfaced since the 90s. We're on a mountainside. I'm surrounded by the woods. And I was like, this is good. This has to get done in the next year or two. And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, we have to fix it. And she's like, it works. We both have SUVs. And I said, do you know who you married?
Right.
So sure enough, the past 3 months, I've been in negotiations with the two other neighbors above me on this mountainside because I'm the first neighbor on the hill and they're the next two up. And it's all really their faults because they never took care of it. I'm the new guy on the hill, So sure. I was like, listen, I said, I'll go above and beyond for you guys. I have the flexibility and the freedom of working for myself. I have a rule. I don't travel on Mondays and Fridays. I always work from home. I only travel in the middle of the week. That way, basically, it's like I always have a long weekend if I feel like it, Again, absolutely. Lifestyle choices, because I earned that. I learned and earned that. So anyway, it took me 3 months of negotiations. The upper neighbors is a double doctor, husband and wife. Kids are all grown. They were in from the beginning. It was just this one guy next door. And he's just a classic half-asser type. And I basically, after 3 months, I said, listen, what you don't understand is I am the proactive neighbor, not the reactive neighbor. If you don't pay to fix this with me, I've documented all of this. If this costs more next year because Dr. Bill on top of the hill, who plows, by the way, the entire driveway for all of us in the wintertime, this guy benefits. He's right in the middle. Plows right on through. And then me, I took care of all the salting, right? We have winters. We're in Northeast Pennsylvania, okay? We got winters. We got snow. It's a thing. Yep. So as soon as I move here, I pick up a four-wheeler. I bought a commercial-grade salt spreader. I'm salting the mountain. Like, Dr. Bill loves me because he's the plow guy. Little old Ned next door hasn't said a word, offered to pay for anything, nothing. He's that guy. And I'm like, and I went to the wife and I said, this new lion on the mountain. And she's like, what? And she's like, all right, get off your pedestal. I was like, no, I'm just telling you. I was like, Dr. Bill, him and his wife, they're like the matriarchs, right? They've been here for a long time. They built their home in the 90s. They built this original driveway. But this house was built in 75, and that guy was built in the 80s. I did all the research. Like, Ned's a user. I don't respect people like that. So what he's going to find from now on is that Scott tells him what to do, and it's going to get done. And she's like, all right, now you're just being a jackass. And I said, am I? I was like, because Dr. Bill agrees with me that if he has to plow that driveway in a heavy winter this year, we're going to lose the base. And ladies, if you don't know anything about asphalt, if you grind off the base material, that is, by the way, this driveway was built in 1999. The fact that you have asphalt that you take for granted on the highways, those things are maintained annually. Right. They did nothing since 1999.
Right. Yeah, low performance.
If you go on my Instagram at Scott W. Mulvaney, not Live the Fuel, everything's posted there. I got before and afters. I'm that guy. I give out free marketing to every contractor here. Long story short, 3 months of negotiations. $13,000 on Friday. All new sexy asphalt. I paid, and then because they already agreed to split the 13 and he wouldn't pay $1 more, I told the guys while we were here, I'm like, hey, why don't you head out, pick up 2 more dump trucks, a grade 3 drainage stoge. Why don't you bulletproof both sides of that driveway? Because we're on a steep hill. I was like, we're going to have runoff issues. I was like, just bill me separately. I'm not rich. It's just, if I'm paying 1/3 of $13,000 to bulletproof a mountain, I want to make sure that we haven't missed anything. And the guy told me, he's like, well, you really should do this and this. I'm like, done. Give me a separate invoice. I'm not even going to ask them to pay for it because then they owe me. And that was my power play.
I love. Well, you know what? That's. I love that you said that because number one, I respect that. Most people don't do that. Nowadays, it's what's in it for me, and why should I care? And my wife and I are the same way. It's like we bought a house in Sedona, Arizona. We've got a little spot in San Diego. And, absolutely. And what we do as part of the community now that everybody is, because of the pandemic and everybody's showing up, and I'm just relating to your quick story here, is how the energy changed with all the Californians and all the New Yorkers and everybody from Texas showing up to Sedona. And now people are leaving their trash.
That's our area. We got blown up by Philadelphia and New York City because we're only an hour and a half from each city. Boom.
And for us, we're like, this is our community. We moved out. We got, we wanted to be here. We wanted the small town life. We love our life. We got a great house, great views, etc. Our puppy's happy on half an acre or whatever. But we go down once a week and we clean and pick up trash on our own time. We don't want our own dime. For us, the type of people that we are, and what I think is missing in this world is people like you, the way in which we approach life going, sometimes these upfront efforts are actually what it takes to truly start changing attitudes and cultures and things like that versus doing it the way in which we've been doing it and failing out for a very long time. It says a lot about you, which is why I'm glad we're, as we're unraveling this onion, you got there where it's like, I'm the kind of guy that will go to my neighbor like you did and go, hey, let's fix this. Okay, you don't want to do it. I'm going to do it because I know the results. If I don't have this as optimal as possible,
it's going to cost us more.
Absolutely. And you're willing to float the bill. And it sucks sometimes, dude. It really sucks sometimes.
I didn't even give you the wild card.
What's that?
This. So obviously, thanks to me being trained by our tax dollars, former hotshot, wildland firefighter, right? Anybody who doesn't understand wildland firefighting, we fought massive mountain fires you see on the news. Mountains are on fire. You send in all different types of wildland firefighters. There's hell attack, there's air attack, there's the regular type 2 crews.
Smoke jumpers,
there's only 2 type 1 incident response crews in the wildland firefighting world that are managed by either the U.S. Forest Service or the BLM, which is Bureau of Land Management. There's hotshots and there's smoke jumpers. Like basically Wylie could be a smoke jumper because he has years of skydiving experience, right? Smoke jumpers skydive in and do an initial attack analysis and then report back because they have those remote skill sets. But the actual horsepower at the elite level are hotshots. So anyway, thanks to that experience, I'm a surgeon with a chainsaw. I've helped so many people this summer alone. I literally had to stop running my chainsaw. My chiropractor, she's like, it hurts for me to shake someone's hand. I can't get a full manly handshake. I'm getting shooting pain in my tendons right now. My wife's like, you need to stop running your saw. I was like, well, that's kind of hard to do because I love it. But anyway, let
me poke at that just because it's important, Scott. Why do you care so much that you're willing to do that for other people? That's another element, I think.
It balances me. Ever since fire, it transformed me so much. I think deep down, it's a way for me to hold on to the sacrifices that were made to achieve that career experience, but also the sacrifices and the education and the training that I received in just those 2 years of that life experience. It's like, I want to honor that. And if that means that I got a friend of mine who can't afford to pay for $1,000 of tree service removal, and I could safely fell a tree behind their house and turn it into a firewood stack, dude, I'll be there. I mean, you can grill me a steak. I would love that. That's my payment. But I mean, actually, my new thing is, thanks to launching the charity, I now tell people, I don't want you to pay me. Make a donation to my charity. Build my legacy on behalf of my sweat equity. That's my new thing for as of this year. I'm like, I've helped so many people. I'm like, dude, if you have the cash, make a donation to my charity. If you don't, it's cool. I'll catch you at the next grilling night or at the bar, whatever. Like, that's,
to me, that's why I love this conversation. I could talk to you for another 2 hours about this very specific thing, which is why I started with, the fire and the feel that you have to live this life. And we're here now for a reason, because there's no accident you and I know each other, because the standard of really giving a shit about people and things out in the world is so lacking today. It's like everybody, unfortunately, is into the vanity metrics of egoic selfishness, me, the rights, my rights, etc. Having people that are willing to do what you just talked about doing for others, knowing regardless, is like, this is going to only serve for the betterment of us as a collective than it is to, who cares? Like, we do it the same thing as like, wherever I go, I bring a delicatessen with me. It's almost like I have food for everybody I'm around. I helped a friend of mine in town who's an artist.
I'm the coffee guy, and food's secondary. Definitely got the caffeine ready to go. That's just me. I mean,
and recently I helped oversight a 2,000 per person, a 12-hour event where Arrested Development, you remember that band from the 90s?
Oh, yeah.
Headlined. He's
I'm
like, Wylie.
Guy.
Yeah, he's like, Wylie, you're former military. You've got extensive experience, security experience. Will you come oversight our entire operation just for the day, et cetera? I was like, I'm happy to do it for a year. My friends in town we're really connected. He's a recording artist himself, and he's like, look, these are my friends. Arrested Development, I know each other. I need to make sure that the security team we hired is doing their job. You're the guy for the job, that's the nature of it. Is I did that for them as my relationship. As an honor. I didn't ask them for money, even though I could have, given my experience, and to some degree should have. But at the end of the day, it's like I'm putting and investing energy into the relationships so that we can consistently have these high performance dynamics where everybody constantly wins together. I know they're going to take care of me at some point, even when I don't even know when it's going to be. And I don't care. The point is, you just shared that you live your fuel by putting that energy and that commitment and that investment into not only your health, your wellness, but you put it outwards because you realize life is so much more than just transactional business.
But it also took me years to get there. I mean, like,
sure,
I was about to give you a quick segue. Like, for example, earlier this year, actually at the end of the winter, we had just moved here. That guy got upset because I hiked up and down the mountain approach on that crappy driveway, and I saw dead trees. And he's got 4 young daughters. Like, he walks them down to the school if they don't drive him down. And I'm like, these are what's called widowmakers. Widowmaker trees kill people. I know this. I'm professionally trained. I'm like,
yes, they do.
These need to come down. So I just started dropping trees. I didn't ask anybody because technically within law, as a share, I found it later, shared driveway access, I'm good within 5 feet of the driveway. But technically, that whole first hill of ascent, the bottom hill, like the property, where the property lines go, Dr. Bill owns the first half, Ned owns the second half. So actually, literally, the 13K we spent on Friday, I don't own any of it. My driveway branches off after that. So I just paid for land I don't even own because it's a shared driveway and I need it. So I was like, hey, I'm a team player from minute one. But anyway, 6-7 months ago, one of those trees he didn't want me to drop, in a high windstorm, I'm trying to leave. I stop because there's a limb across the driveway. I get out. I hear pop from behind my head. And thanks to my training, boom, I set oak coming right at me. I dive back into the front seat of my car, grab the door. At the split second the door closes, the tree explodes all over my brand new car of $55,000, and it crushes the fucking roof. Pardon my French. And I was like, okay. That was fun. Now, granted, I medically was fine. All right. Luckily, I knew what the sound was. I got it. I was able to get in the vehicle. The vehicle saved me. Now, luckily, the sunroof didn't get blown out. No windows got blown out, but the whole roof was crinkled. It had 5,000 miles on the car. So, now, did I sue him? No. Did I create a legal battle? No. I drove back, actually, after the other neighbor helped me pull the tree off the car, clear the driveway. I put it in reverse, backed all the way back up the mountain to my house, and immediately called my insurance company because I pay for good insurance. And all I did was I sent a photo to him and saying, this is why I asked to help clear the entire hill of dead trees.
Right.
That's all I left it at. So, and again, should I have been upset? Sure. Technically, should he have paid for those damages? Sure. I just didn't want to deal with it. I'm like, listen, I've put all the stuff in motion. I'm a professional. I have insurance. Yeah. I'm not here to create drama. I'm the new guy on the hill. I didn't do anything about it.
But you still you know what? We're getting Scott. I mean, time goes by so fast. I mean, we're getting kind of close to.
But the point is, that's that mental game, right? What battles are worth fighting?
That's what I was going to say. And I want everybody to listen to these wise words. What are the battles that are actually worth fighting? Are you willing to see what potentiality of the outcome is of you engaging in that battle? Yeah. Or should you take a step back and allow it to be what it is and then move forward? And if it does happen again, maybe then you decide whether or not that's the battle to engage in, right?
And use it as strategy. Thanks to your military background, my firefighting background, I'm like, okay, I was like, I could create a problem, but I'm the new guy on the hill. I just moved in, but I already plan on, I can already tell this guy he's not wired right? So I'm going to back off. I'm not going to do anything. I've got insurance. Sure. I'm fine. Let me back out, maneuver, and then wait to see what pops up next. And then sure enough, obviously, 6-7 months later, I knew that driver was going to be a position move. And I'm like, wait a minute, I got weight over the situation. Like, dude, you caused $13,000 and 115 man hours of damage to my vehicle. They literally cut the entire roof off the vehicle and replaced it because they weren't willing to total it. They weren't willing to total it because of the supply chain problems in the automotive industry. I have a whole new roof on my car. I'm like, that's okay. I didn't know you could do that.
I've seen that firsthand. What those body shop guys do. That's a lot of labor.
They're
that's
magicians.
Yes, they are. Yeah, absolutely.
It's like, pick your battle.
Pick your battle. But the same thing. It's almost like, the attitude of like, I'm better than this. Yeah, you are, but you're better than that at the same time. And you can do so much more, which is, it's so important to realize. And I want to ask you is like, what specific wise words would you leave right now after talking about all this for people to truly, really grasp around picking your battles and focusing on very specific elements of living that high performance life? Because
it's a chapter in my book.
What's that?
It's a chapter in my book, and these are two words that you directly have been trained on. Situational awareness.
100%.
If people are hearing this right now, I mean, everybody's got smartphones nowadays. Go ahead and Google it, whatever you got to do. Situational awareness applies to so much in life.
That it does.
I use it in business all the time. Right?
I do too.
But it totally applies to life. Now, obviously, you use it in military. It was a standard protocol in our training. We had to literally keep our SA up. I'm air quoting for people in the video world, right? Dude, our heads were always on a swivel because of what happened at the foot of my driveway. That tree could have killed me.
Absolutely.
But because my SA was still so hardwired from over 10 years ago when I was a firefighter. That wasn't 5 years ago. Over 10 years ago, 2010 and 2011. But my SA was still dialed in.
Yep.
I was able to protect myself, jump in the car, escape a situation. Now, apply that to our jobs, our careers. Hell, pulled up to a red light. My eyes are always on the side mirrors, the rearview mirror. I'm not like a danger freak. I always got my SA ready to go.
That's I love that you said that, because any military person listening to this as well understands that it's not even PTSD. It is situational awareness, because everywhere I go, despite my 3 combat tours and what I was able to understand about myself and learning what I did was, no matter where I go in crowds, my eyes, my body, my mind, my emotions are always tuned in to making sure I'm very intuitive. I'm very sensitive now because of the work I've done for myself, everything that I've gotten to a place where no matter what, it's always just being mindful of life and what's going on around you. And which is why I'm able, like you, to choose my battles, where I put my energy, because maybe the person that's being this over here doesn't deserve my focus and my energy on them in that situation. That's why my high-powered clients pay me so well to do what I do for them, is because they are in a position where they deserve it. They want it. Maybe this guy over here in the street doesn't need that. So I look at, like, where do I put my energy? Where do I put my focus and my attention? Where is my awareness? Do I need to engage in that? Is it even worth it? And do I understand that maybe that person is having an eruption with me because I came into their life, because I called them out on something?
Well, you just dropped a crap load of fuel on the fire, right? So let's play off of that. You just triggered something in my own head. Let's go full circle back to your question earlier and tie that dial back in. We're going to dial.
And you know what, Scott? Let's close this out with that. So go for it, please.
Right. So you just literally triggered. I actually, some of my old fire brothers used to say I said it too much, but I'm like, all right, we got to get this shit dialed in, man. He's like, all right, mister, dial it in. You got to dial everything in. Well, guess what? As a rookie on a fire crew, next thing you know, I was in charge of the entire tool cache, chainsaw cache. We had these those metal shipping containers, those Canis containers, because we're in the middle of a desert mountain base in the middle of northern Arizona in Tonto National Forest, which is southeast of where you're at your Arizona place. And it's like, all right, well, this is an organized crapshoot. I was like, I wouldn't even call it organized. I created an Excel spreadsheet, inventoried everything, blah, 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 blah. Like, I'll be like, oh, okay, you actually understand computers and Excel and all that. I'm like, yeah, you made fun of my corporate monkey background. Well, I'm going to bring it and make it happen. All right. But long story short, it's just this fuel for the fire, so to speak. It's just like, people don't understand that we all have the same 24 hours in a day.
Yep.
And within those same 24 hours in a day, we have the same, if you want to break it down to 8-hour segments or 10-hour segments or 2-hour segments, whatever works for you. But like, when you are giving that time to someone else or something else, you can't give that fuel to another entity.
Right.
So we all have a choice on what fire we fuel. All right. This is something that I teach. This is something that I coach.
Yes.
And it's taken me years to get here. I've had to coach myself on this. I've had to have other coaches that I've hired coach me on this. So like, dude, you're a high energy guy. You can't help everybody.
Yep. You know what? Here's a good point, Scott. And I'm just going to throw this in here. Just as you know, as an elite hotshot, you know this very well. People don't understand is when they hear on the TV, the fire is 20% contained. They don't realize what that actually means. What you just said is huge. And I'm using the firefighter reference because I love firefighters. I have a good friend of mine who's a paramedic captain as well. Is you chose to find the right containment for your level of blaze so that you can burn bright, burn right, and actually get the job done. Because I know that at the same time, you guys do a lot of fire prevention stuff too, where you go out together.
Preventative work, absolutely.
Absolutely. You create already preemptive containment for potential fuel sources to ignite. Right now. That's what I'm saying. So
I'm building a hiking trail, but it also serves as a fire break. So...
And I just wanted to add that as you were talking, I'm like, I got to say it right now. So I thank you for that, because it's, and I want to leave these wise words for people, because we're out of time too at the end of the day, but, and we should do it again because I love talking to you, but it is really about finding the right type of containment for your fuel and your fire, what makes sense for you, how you burn, and creating a life from there so you can experience this ultimate level of high energy, success, no matter what comes your way. Like the tree fell, you ran out in your car, you're like, take a deep breath, I'm going to go take care of it. People would panic with that.
I didn't even freak out. Yeah, it was just my new neighbor who had just bought the house at the bottom, he was a young kid.
Yeah.
And he comes running up. He's like, you all right? I'm like, yeah, I'm good. Fine. Just help me drag this off. I'm going to put the car in reverse, call the insurance company. He just looked at me.
That comes because I asked in the beginning of the show, that comes because you chose to focus on that proper containment of your energy, who you are as a young kid. You're like, I want this to be what drives me for everything I do. And you did not waver no matter what was thrown at you. That's it. That is a huge deal that a lot of people don't really have or grasp.
And it wasn't easy.
No, it's never going to. That's the thing. Is
second guess yourself. You got your own future wife, not second guessing you, but like asking you why, because she doesn't understand. She's got a different path than you, your own family, your own friends.
But here's the thing. If I do not like focusing on the concept of change and transformation, I like people that are willing to do the arduous, hard shit to actually change, because real greatness comes through the blood, sweat, and tears. You did not become an elite firefighter because you went to a seminar on how to be a firefighter. I did not become a combat leader because I read a book on how to be a soldier. It's all truly about being in the suck and learning how to embrace it, and having standards and integrity and discipline, and focusing on the fuel you know is inside you and containing it so that it can burn your path to where you want to go, right? That's what I want to
love how you
with.
said suck, because I literally have that in the book too. Embrace the suck.
Yeah,
you're very familiar with that term.
That's what we do.
I wanted to add, you talked
please.
about that containment, which is true, right? So if you create a smaller environment, envision people hearing this, right? Envision like a sphere around yourself, right? The greater you make the sphere, the less intense that heat is going to be, because now you're trying to heat, let's say 50 to 100 people versus 5 to 10, right? We are the product of the 5 people we spend the most time with, right? Classic Jim Rohn statement and quote. That might not be verbatim, right? But it's like you have to make these smart decisions, tactical decisions to say strategically, okay, these people aren't serving me, but I can serve them and they can serve me. Let me focus on those. All right, I'm not disowning you. I'm going to focus on this, because part of that fire, right? One of the basic fuel sources that a fire must have is oxygen. So if you are going to tighten that containment field, as Wylie so wisely shared, you also have to allow in a way of breath, a way of breathing.
You need oxygen. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So don't tighten that sphere so tight that you cut off the most essential fuel supply.
And I'm gonna add a last thought there too. This is the nature of my work and being an interrupter and slaying the demons of these powerful people. Is I provide them in the relationship dynamic with them, the right container where they're allowed to ebb and flow in it. But I never allow them to just haphazardly just go off and do whatever the hell they want to, because that unfortunately is why we have so much chaos in the world today. There's not enough proper containment. But you're right. You need those 3 elements. You need an ignition, a fuel source, and oxygen for make that fire, right? And then chemical combustion, or, that's the aspect where, here's the last thought. And I think this is a wise word I'm taking for this conversation is a closed container is always in a state of decay until you breathe new life into it. And that's the nature of most people's mindsets. It's too closed. And a mind is like a parachute. It's literally only going to work when it's open. That's it. And you do that every single day for your people. And I want everyone that's hanging out with us, sipping on their whiskeys, tequilas, I want them to continue to hang out with you more. So, Scott, thank you so much, brother. But where else can people connect with you, talk to you, maybe, hell, do stuff with you for your nonprofit, et cetera?
Well, obviously the core, as you already said at the beginning of the show, is livethefuel.com. That's how it all began, because that's the podcast, Live the Fuel, all one word. And actually, just for people to understand, that actually originally stands for Live the Fired Up Epic Life, which was a translation and built off of Ernest Hemingway, which is Live Life to the Fullest. So I'm that level of a geek. But obviously, yes, sales and marketing, I'm the fuel marketing guy. But obviously, the foundation is Fuel Foundations, plural, because I created a nonprofit that can help other organizations. So I have multiple projects going on.
Awesome.
And, so it's exciting.
And read your book. Yeah. So you want to be a hot
obviously,
shot?
yes. So you want to be a hot shot.
Yep.
It's on Amazon. You can easily get there just by going to hotshotbook.com. I set that domain to go right to the Amazon listing. And I'm literally in the process right now, because I have so much fuel on my fire, finishing finally the audiobook, because I did not release that right away. And I decided to be the actual voiceover for that, because it's my story of what I learned. So
love it, brother. Well, dude, thank you so much for sharing. I'll make sure that people know exactly where that, how everybody is. They need the links, et cetera. That'll be taken care of. But brother, man, thank you so much. We got to do it again, because this was a killer conversation. And
this is one of my favorite podcasts already. I was like, what? I was like, I'll do this again.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing, and I told you I'm not, and we'll have to talk about this again. I'm actually getting ready to launch a giveaway where I'm going to be giving away a free bottle of premium whiskey to people for tuning into the show, et cetera. So when we talk again, we can talk about cross pollination with that.
All right, people, make sure you're subscribing, because that's a no brainer. If it's Balvenie or anything else that Wylie selects, he picked a prime choice that I'm a huge fan of.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, you know what? We got more to come, my man. So I appreciate you being on here, brother, man. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Cheers.
Salud.